Welcome to the first episode of the second season of Manawaker Studios' Flash Fiction Podcast. I'm CB Derogi. Real quick before we begin, the beginning of the second season of the podcast also marks its approximate 1-year anniversary. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the listeners and contributors who have made Flash Fiction Podcast possible. Also, if you would like to do something special for the Flash Fiction Podcast to celebrate its birthday, I will give you some more details after the story. This week, Paying the Tab by Brian K. Lowe. I guess it's true then, Santos. All things come to he who waits. I sniffed and wrapped a claw-like hand around my glass and took a healthy sip. It burned going down, and I inhaled in surprise. But they didn't say I'd have to wait this long, I replied. I've been trying to kill you for almost 45 years. I was having trouble catching my breath. Better than you're used to, he asked, ignoring my comments. There was a sense of affectionate irony in his question, but I suppose he could afford it. You're not drinking. His glass was still full. His drink was blue over yellow with a little umbrella in it. Most guys would be too self-conscious to order it, but apparently not Barnard. It jived with what I knew of him. He toyed with the glass. I was just remembering. We've had a lot of good times. A lot of adventures. Only the fact that my fingers could barely grip kept me from smashing the glass in my hand. You probably remember them better than I do, I said in a controlled tone. 45 years might as well be 45 months to you. Barnard nodded. True. I was running circles around hunters when you were a babe in your mother's arms. And look at us now. You're an old man whose fingers can't even hold a gun, and I haven't aged a day. I glanced sidewise at him, speculating. What? What's on your mind? I thought I might as well ask him. I wasn't going to get another chance. I had no illusions that he wasn't going to kill me before the night was over. Is it worth it? The wolf bite? The curse? The turning into a beast every month? I turned to face him head on. The bartender, who looked near to retirement himself, refilled my drink automatically, while distancing himself with professional indifference. Is mortality worth all the people you've killed? Rather than answer, he drained his drink and signaled for another. I was already fuzzy around the edges, but he could go at it until closing time and feel nothing. He was silent for a long time until his new drink was set down in front of him. It's what I do. It's not like I have a choice. They call it a curse for a reason. I snorted. Don't give me that. Don't bullshit an old man. You love the chase. It's all a game to you. You used to hang around the same town until somebody like me came looking for you. Then you'd either leave your last kill where we'd find it or lie in wait for us. You can blame the curse for what you did on the full moon, but not for all the others. Barnard shrugged. We are what we are. How about you? You and I have been dancing around each other for almost half a century. But this is the first time we'd ever laid eyes on each other, let alone talked. Why are you in this business? My wife was killed by a werewolf in San Francisco in 1962. It was surprising how easy the words came now. I lived in San Francisco in 1962. The way he said it, you might almost believe he thought it was a coincidence. So why did you put out the word to meet me here, old man? You had to know how dangerous it was. My drink was gone. I raised my hand to signal the bartender, and he looked our way alertly, but then I dropped my hand and shook my head. I think two's enough. Yeah, that should do. I squinted at him, but let that go. It didn't matter. I wasn't even sure you'd come. I wanted to ask you a favor. I'm done. I'm finished hunting. I wanted to tell you that, and ask you to leave me alone. I'm retiring. You win. Barnard put his hand on my shoulder. Well then, son, you're in luck, because I've already done you a favor. I stopped in here earlier and persuaded our bartender here to spike your drinks. In about 5 minutes, you're going to be too dizzy to stand up. By the time we get to my car, you'll be out on your feet, and by the time I cut your throat and leave you in the woods, you won't feel a thing. Already he was helping to keep me upright. Don't worry, I'll cover your drinks. You can pay me back later. I tried to keep my eyes focused as the bartender swam into view. Here you go, Barnard said to him, handing over a bill. Keep the change. Looking at him, Barnard did not notice my face as I caught the eye of the bartender, the man who had recruited me days ago to play my part, the man who had laced Barnard's fruity drinks with silver salts, the man whose name, unlike mine, was really Santos. My tongue was too thick to speak. Too bad. Although I'd lied about being Santos, I hadn't lied about my wife. I wanted to tell the bastard I'd already paid him back everything he was owed. This has been Paying the Tab, written by Brian K. Lowe. So what can you do to help Flash Fiction Podcast celebrate its 1-year birthday, the beginning of its 2nd season? The biggest thing that you could do to help, other than becoming a patron on Patreon, which I will tell you about in just a moment, is to leave an iTunes review. If you go to the Flash Fiction Podcast iTunes page, you can leave a review there, and that is apparently extremely important for how podcasts get distributed and recommended. So your voice can be very important to helping Flash Fiction Podcast spread free, cool stories as far and wide as possible. Thank you so much for all of your support and attention over the last year. As another side note before we get to the typical end notes for the podcast, the 1st season of Flash Fiction Podcast is now available as an audiobook on Audible. Of course, all of the episodes for Season 1 will remain indefinitely available on the Manawaker website, but if you would like to listen to all of them in one audiobook, that is now an option. Just go to Audible and search for Manawaker. Flash Fiction Podcast is supported by Manawaker Studios patrons on Patreon, the voluntary pay-what-you-want subscription service. To find out more or to become a patron, visit patreon.com/Manawaker. For more information about Manawaker Studios' other projects, including books and games, visit manawaker.com, which is also where you should go to learn more about the authors featured on this podcast or to get details about submitting a story. The Flash Fiction Podcast theme song is by Kevin MacLeod. I'm CB Droege. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at CBDROEGE. Thanks for listening.